So I'm interested in this car purely from a personal point of view. This is an Armstrong Siddeley Sapphire. My grandfather had one of these, and I think, I'm not quite sure, but about the time I was born, he moved to a Bentley, but my dad had the car for about 6 months when I was a baby. So I actually have been in a Armstrong Siddeley Sapphire, but only as a baby. So I can't say I've got great memories of it. It was about the last model Armstrong Siddeley made. They finished in 1960. So just a personal connection with the car here at the show. Okay, so this is Colin. Colin owns this car, the Sapphire. Can you tell us something about your car, how you came to own it, what you like about the car?
I bought it in 1987, and it needed a complete restoration. It took me 10 years to do that, and it's been on the road since 1997. And the reason I liked the car and wanted to buy one was when I was young, I collected tax discs, old tax discs, and persuaded my dad to take me down to a scrapyard, and I sat in one of these, had the tax disc, and thought I need to have one of these cars one day. That day came in 1987.
Okay, good. I mean, you must have been a great day for you to finally achieve that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So tell us something about the Sapphire model. It was about the last of the Armstrong Siddeley marks, wasn't it?
Yes, it was introduced in 1952, and it stayed in production for 6 years, up to 58.
Right.
And then the last car the company produced was a Star Sapphire, which is very similar superficially.
Right.
But it got a bigger engine and proper opening doors rather than suicide doors.
Right.
And that was the last car that the company produced.
Yeah, and I as far as I know, to my knowledge, they stopped making, partly because they were involved in aircraft industry. That was much more profitable than the car bikes, which was a bit of a distraction. And I guess the other side of it was, this is still a separate chassis with a body on it, and that to go to the next level, to go to a monocoque, probably was just too much investment, and then just no reward for it. They concentrated on what they were good at, I suppose.
Yes, I think cars like this were not in great demand in the late 50s, early 60s, so I think they would have had to have moved.
I mean, even Rolls-Royce moved to a monocoque not long after.
Eventually, yes.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time.
You're very welcome.
Fascinating car, and nice to speak to you.
Yes, and you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. So we're here with Paul. This is your car?
Yes, yeah.
Can you describe what it is? I mean, it's an Armstrong Siddeley.
Yes.
What's the model? What's the age?
It's 1933, Armstrong Siddeley, 12 horsepower.
Right.
It started its life, the chassis was built in Coventry.
Right.
But it was exported as a chassis over to Australia.
All right.
And a body coach building company called Ruskin did the coach work for it.
Oh, so that was done in Australia?
It was done in Australia, Melbourne, Australia. The environment much kinder for it, to be honest. To be fair, there's no rot underneath it. And yeah, she spent about 10 years in a museum as well in Tasmania back in the 70s.
So how did it end up back in England, do you know?
One of my neighbours imported it back in 2006.
Right.
And he had it, and it broke down on him. So he had it just in his garage, he never used it. So that was when I purchased it off him and sort of recommissioned it, really. Yeah, back on the road.
What drew you to it, or was it just something that was offered to you?
No, believe it or not, I'd been in Bamborough Castle a few weeks before.
All right, yeah.
And read all about William Armstrong at Bamborough Castle, and there was a car very similar to it in the museum.
So you suddenly thought, I'll have one of those.
That sort of pricked my ears up about it, yeah. And I sort of didn't know all about it at all, but it was like, wow, I've heard of them, and there was one like it, so I did the deal, yeah.
Apart from this is obviously, as you say, been to Australia and back, which interesting in itself. Is there anything particular individual to this car, apart from an unusual body, or certainly a coach builder?
That's right. Yeah.
Is there anything unique to your car, or?
I think the most unique thing, and people keep commenting about it, is the colour.
Yeah. I mean, is that original colour?
No, it was a maroon colour originally, and this was sprayed this colour back in 1986.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
well, it makes it stand out, doesn't it?
It does stand out, yeah. That's right. But,
and one thing that's always fascinated me about Armstrong Siddeley is the Why do you know why there's a Sphinx as the emblem or the mascot?
I think it was something solid and reliable. I believe someone mentioned that.
Sort of,
it's like forever. And back in the day when they first came out, I think Egyptian memorabilia and things like that was quite the fashion.
Yeah, when did they first start?
About 1920s.
Yeah, which would be sort of when Tutankhamun was found and all that sort of stuff.
And a different model.
A fascination with.
That's it. They had that sort of style of Sphinx on this year.
Yeah.
And then that was a similar year. And then the later ones had the jet engines on the side and all that because of the Sapphire jet engines and things like that.
And their connection with the aero
industry. That's right. Yeah, that's right.
And you got the name plate. They got the chassis plates and everything there.
Yeah,
all the details.
All the brass. Yeah,
wonderful.
I was on the phone to the ignition people, and it turns out I've still got the original distributor on it because the serial number was 33 on it.
Right. So I mean, there's some of these older cars. The numbers are, they're stamped on everything.
That's right. And it's all original inside as well.
And what's it like to drive?
Pleasant, to be fair. It's very comfortable.
Right.
It's quite quiet once you get in top gear because the Wilson gearbox is quite noisy in up to top gear, and then it's direct drive, so it's quite quiet then. And we were driving around the Isle of Wight back in September with her. She's quite comfortable, really. Yeah.
Very good.
Oh,
okay.
It's great.
Well, thank you very much for speaking to us about your car.